hopefully you've been to an In-N-Out burger. Great restaurant, simple menu, but for those in the know, they have a secret menu. So there's the menu, and then there's things that are sort of off the menu that you can choose. Well, that's basically your life and your career. And the secret menu is whatever the hell you want it to be. And the reason I'm talking to you about this today is I want to get you to understand how powerful it can be to take responsibility for your situation, to figure out what you want or need, and to go get it. Welcome to The Lift, the show about leadership, growth, and getting what we want. I'm your host, Ben Brooks. So something I've noticed over the last 10 years in working with a whole variety of folks around the world is people need to advocate for themselves, not just for their company or their client or their community. And in a lot of ways, it's sometimes easier to advocate for someone else. I remember when I raised money for a charity, I learned pretty quickly how to be good at it because it was for a really good cause. It'd be different than if I was asking for a handout or a gift or an investment in my company that just benefited me. But yet it is the X factor in a lot of my coaching clients getting what they want. Getting what we want is a part of the show promise. Well, part of it is you got to know what it is, and then you have to go get it. And that's what we're going to talk about today with self-advocacy. If you had to define self-advocacy, it's simply knowing what you need or want and asking for it, be willing to hear an answer that's other than yes, and keep asking again to solve what you need or want. So you got to know what you need or want, and you have to go get it. I had a situation. It was the global financial crisis. I had moved to New York. I'd been here for 2 years, came from Denver, was doing really well in management consulting, and then the financial crisis came. And one of the innovative ways that my firm, Oliver Wyman, was going to avoid layoffs is we all got 3 months off at 40% pay and our insurance. So we didn't have furloughs or layoffs, but we had 3 months that we were going to be not working. But the problem was I was paycheck to paycheck. I was underwater on a house I owned. I wasn't making a lot in Manhattan. I couldn't afford 40%. And all of the people I had met over the last couple of years were in financial services and other companies that were also shedding people. There was no job to go get. And so I needed to figure something out. My parents, in an effort to be helpful, scared the crap out of me because they suggested I move to West Texas and drive a tractor for one of their friends that owned a commercial farm. Talk about a fall from grace. So I had to figure something out. What I had to look at was what I wanted to do, but also sort of what needed to be done. And I had been to a charity gala a couple months earlier, and I sat next to this amazing, gregarious guy, Orlando. Turns out he was the new chief human resources officer of the parent company. Over a couple glasses of wine, we talked about diversity, LGBTQ rights, the business, culture. Well, I talked to a friend of mine and I got psyched up because I said, what I'd really like to do for 3 months is help Orlando drive the DEI agenda. And this was back in 2008, I believe. So I spent some time and I made a slide with 3 columns of what needs to be done for the company, why I'm the guy, and what we would achieve. And I put it together and I sent it to him at 5:50 on a Wednesday, I remember. And at 5:55, my phone rang, and it was Orlando's assistant asking for a meeting the next day. And at 6 o'clock, I got a note from him that he was very encouraged and he was looking forward to speaking soon. Well, I met with him the next day, and he said, I don't want you for 3 months. I want you for 9 or 12 months. I don't want you to do diversity for the diversity head. I want you to work directly for me, and I want you to help me rebuild the talent management function. So like any good young person who's ambitious, I went back to my desk and I Googled, what is talent management? After saying yes. And the rest is history. A year later, I was pivoting into being an HR person. I got a bonus that was more than my entire salary. And it opened up what is now the work I do with Pilot, my coaching practice, and this podcast. And it all started from advocating for myself. Now, when I tell people that story, they say, you can do that? And for those of you who've ever been to the West Coast, hopefully you've been to an In-N-Out burger. Great restaurant, simple menu. But for those in the know, they have a secret menu. So there's the menu, and then there's things that are sort of off the menu that you can choose. Well, that's basically your life and your career. And the secret menu is whatever the hell you want it to be. And the reason I'm talking to you about this today is I want to get you to understand how powerful it can be to take responsibility for your situation, to figure out what you want or need, and to go get it. It is the quickest route to increasing your satisfaction and your success in life and in your career, no matter how you define that. And really, this is the kernel, the catalyst for Pilot. We wanted everyone to feel powerful at work. And that was capital E, everyone. So it's something that I'm so passionate about. And when we decided about what to do a solo episode about, what's the Ben Talk? Instead of the TED Talk, we're having a Ben Talk here. What's that going to be about? The first thing was self-advocacy. It's a thing that we can always become better at. Many people don't even know it exists. And it really is the unlock, because the upside of taking responsibility is feeling powerful. Now, think about where we are in the world right now. The world's changing pretty fast. Think of in the last few years how different the workplace is, different industries are, even a lot of our lives. That's technology. That was the pandemic, economy, globalization, deglobalization, AI. So it used to be in the Great Resignation, if you didn't like things, you just got a job somewhere else. Well, there may not be more jobs to swipe to. You may have fewer opportunities to switch right now or for a while. So you may have to water your own grass rather than going to find greener grass. Also, layers of management are being taken out in organizations. And so you need to be clearer with new people you may work for to not be out of sight or out of mind, which is a big issue also with remote and hybrid. If you're out of sight, you can be out of mind. There's a thing called passive FaceTime bias. The same employee with the same performance that sits within 50 feet of someone in a physical office is seen as far more valuable and hardworking than a remote employee. And so we have a remote first company. You have to advocate for yourself differently. No one can see you struggling at your desk. No one can see you sad from a life event. So part of the unwritten rule of work here that people often don't get is good work does not automatically get noticed. And also realize, depending on where you grew up, what zip code, what family, what dynamic, you may not have ever been encouraged to advocate in your childhood. Or culturally, often that can be looked as disrespectful to speak up or to want. So a big part of equity, leveling the playing field, is letting everyone know that this is a thing, that there's a secret menu, that you can do this. So if you're like, hey, I'm pretty good at self-advocacy as you're listening to this, I'm sure I can challenge you in this episode to be better. But the bonus opportunity is to share this episode and this concept with others, advocating for them and helping them advocate for themselves, because that's what helps level the playing field. And you may give someone the shot like I had that could change their whole career. I want to tell you about someone named Maria. She was a part of one of Pilot's leadership development programs that we deploy inside of different organizations. And she happens to work for a large nonprofit. And the president of the organization said at the kickoff, I have bobbed through my career like a buoy out in the water, bobbing along. And I somehow was lucky enough to get to a president role. I want you to be more deterministic in your careers. And at the end of this 6-month development program, I want you to have an ask. Everyone's like, an ask? What's the ask? And I said, well, that's what you have to figure out. And he, at that moment, scheduled one-on-ones with every participant. These were not people on his team. These were people throughout the organization of 1,200 people. And they had to make an ask. They had to pitch him something to advance their careers, to make them more satisfied. And through that work, Maria realized that she was pretty bored because she'd done development for a while and thought she might leave the agency. But her real passion was around people and culture. Maria's ask was for a new job, moving out of development and into an area that would challenge her and satisfy her, which was in human resources. Fast forward a few years, Maria's now their head of HR, reporting to the CFO, large and in charge, and is actually helping to work with Pilot to roll out our programs to others. But there was no way that the president knew what Maria wanted. And so it was so important to have the structure for her to ask. But not all of you are going to be lucky enough to have that, to have the crutch or the structure to have that meeting. Sometimes we advocate for one another in good faith. You have people you look out for, your buddies, maybe someone you mentor or sponsor. You have a prior or current manager that's sort of invested in you. But the problem is if you don't tell them what you want or need, they may go advocate for something you don't want. A prime example is we worked with Cadillac, and we had a phenomenal executive that was putting her team through a program with ours, and they had to figure out self-advocacy. Well, this individual had wanted to do an international assignment. It was a big global company, but Her boss only knew that she wanted to have a kid. And so her boss, being a mom and a parent herself, always took her off the list for consideration for international assignments because she was going to have a kid. You can't be abroad. That's not going to work. And they never calibrated because, in fact, that person wanted to go abroad first and then have a kid. Her son is 9. She wound up going to Zurich within 30 days of that unlock. And she sort of had it all, but it was around sequence. And she had a boss that was going to bat for her, a boss that was a bulldog and an advocate, but the boss was at the wrong target because they never calibrated. This is where you need to find your voice. So there's a lot of benefits. We get more of what we want. I am the world's leading expert at what Ben Brooks wants or needs. And so are you about you. Nobody knows more or better about you than you. You have to trust that. But what gets in the way? A big one is fear of rejection. In a lot of ways, we are really worried about being told no. And there's actually research that brain circuits equate rejection with physical pain. Imagine getting kicked in the shins, and that's what often our brains can interpret being told no or not now. The challenge I have for you to measure, if you're ready for this, is when's the last time you've been told no? If it's been a while, you're not asking enough. Part of like where are the boundaries, what's enough, is are you getting no's? Because if you're always getting yes, you probably should ask for more. And if you're not asking at all, that's what you need to work on. Now, I mentioned, looking ungrateful. Especially people are job hugging right now. They don't want to rock the boat. They're just grateful to have employment. But gratitude doesn't require silence. You can be grateful and have unmet needs. Sometimes we think, oh, so-and-so's a squeaky wheel, or they're a diva, or not a team player, a complainer. We worry about what it's going to look like to others if we advocate. Sometimes we just need the reminder that we could help ourselves. You may not even know that you could advocate or that you could do something about it. Even last week, one of the super fans of our show, Jen Fox, I texted her something, an alert on my phone about something that drove me crazy, that is a part of a group that she's in. And she goes, why the hell do you have these alerts on your phone? I'm like, you know what? I forgot. I hate having alerts on my phone. I just turned off those alerts. Sometimes we just need the reminder that we could help ourselves. And that gets me to my last point. You know what really gets in the way? Realizing you think you need to advocate to someone else besides yourself. You are in charge of you. But sometimes we deauthorize ourselves. We think we need permission or an encouragement from someone else. And we're going to talk about how to make an ask, but remember that there is a price for silence. We often think of the price of having the ask. Could I look bad? Would they be annoyed? Would I be rejected? But not saying anything could wear you down, could cause that burnout. All right, so you're riled up. All right, Ben, I'm going to make an ask. Great. Go guns blazing. Well, you have to remember, this is not a hostage negotiation. Okay. Sometimes we get so excited about our ask or we're so fed up. So you need to be clear about a few things before you go do this. What's the ask? Specifically, if I want to get feedback and I say, do you have any feedback? That's not an ask. Saying, I want to know what I need to do in my presentation skills so I can lead the client presentation next time. That's an ask. You want to be specific. You want to think about your unmet needs. Why does that matter to you? What's the gap between where you'd like to be and where you are? So if you'd like to have flexibility and you come to me as your manager, I don't know what flexibility means. But my executive assistant, Beth, when she was interviewing at our company, advocated for herself. And she said, I'd like to make sure I can go to the bus stop and pick up my kid every day at 3:00, make him a snack, set him up for homework. I would like to be offline every day at 3:30 for 30, 45 minutes. So specific. And I just said, approved, but you have to manage it. And if I forget and I call you or put stuff in your calendar, you just need to remind me, nope, that is my sacred time. You want to frame the ask is shared information, right? You want to say like, hey, I can sell more for you if I can limit the number of prospects that I have to call every day. Or if someone else can design the reports, I can lead more pitches, right? So thinking about the sort of trades, you can also ask someone else to advocate for you. You may want to have a meeting with a senior executive to pitch an idea, but you don't know how to get on their calendar. Well, if you know someone else who does, you can advocate to them. Executive assistants are a great source. Some of the most powerful people in an organization are chiefs of staff and executive assistants. Treat them well. Now, think about your batting average. Many people, they will make a negative prediction. They're going to be told no, or going to be laughed out of the room, or that they're going to be on the layoff list if they ask for something. But of 14,000 asks, a researcher did, and they found that people underestimate yes by about 48%. So we basically assume we're going to strike out. You should be asking and being told no or not now regularly. Now, you may need to go back. Well, when do you ask again? Well, when you're ready to see the context has changed, or you can make a better ask. So don't assume that if you asked once and were told no, that it's a permanent no, unless it was that clear. It's often just a not now. Sometimes it's a maybe. Maybe your ask wasn't actionable enough, or it was too large and you need to break it down into smaller asks. So these are all tips about how to make this ask. So you want to be thoughtful. Take a beat. Put it into your favorite AI model and say, what are the other things I could ask for? What are the options? How could I phrase this so it would be in their interest? How do I give them context and make sure it doesn't come off as threatening or controlling? Then also be expected for a counter proposal. Orlando countered with me. He didn't tell me yes to a 3-month thing working for the head of diversity. He countered for a 9-month thing working with him on talent management, totally different than what I asked. But what he gave me was much more valuable. His imagination was bigger than mine. So also be open to a counter. And if they say now's not a good time, ask them when would be, or when can I follow up? Or say, okay, understood. I'm going to bring this up in about 45 days. You set the expectation that that could happen. So if you get kind of a mushiness that's not a yes or not a no, it's sort of a stall, you want to press for the clarity of when you would come back or when they would make it easy. If people ever ask you for a letter recommendation, there's 2 types of people. The people that say, can you write me a letter recommendation? And the other people that said, can you write me a letter recommendation? I already wrote it for you if you want to tweak it. I love the latter. We call that a shovel-ready ask at Pilot. So you want to also make the ask as easy as possible. So if you want a head count at work, can I hire someone? No. Write the job description, define where it'd be in the org chart, define the KPIs, link it back to the business strategy, level the job, have the budget for it, and a plan to hire, and say, I'd like to bring someone on the team to do this. This is how much it would cost and how it would work. Do I have your approval? That's shovel ready. All right, folks. Hopefully I got you fired up about making the ask, about advocating for yourself. But before you move on, I want you to take a beat. I want you to do something, to take action. Take a minute. What is my unmet want or need? Why do I want that? Why is this important to me? What would it do for me? Who do I need to make this ask of? And perhaps is it just myself? And how do I make that ask to increase my odds of getting it? And go do it. All right, Lift listeners, that was our first Ben Talk, the first solo episode. We'd love to hear what you think. You can email us, hello@theliftpod.com, or find me on your favorite social platform and slide into my DMs. I'll tell you what, listeners, I got a couple people that are famous that I want to have on this podcast, and I've been delaying making the ask. After I record this segment, I'm going to commit to our producer. I'm going to make both of those asks today. And if they come on the show, I'll tell you when that happened. So I'm going to walk the walk with you. So go out, advocate for yourself. If you haven't been told no, advocate more. If you've been told no, advocate again. If you're really great at this, help other people advocate. Advocate for groups, advocate for clients. Have the ask and take responsibility for making it happen. Have a great day, everyone. Go advocate for yourself. Thanks for joining me this week on The Lift. For more info on what you heard in today's episode, visit our show notes. You can find out more about the show at theliftpod.com. If listening to The Lift today was a good use of your time, please share it with a colleague, a friend, I don't know, your ex, your mother, anyone. Don't let good advice die with you. And for those of you who like to earn a little bit of extra credit, leave a comment on Spotify. We'd love to hear from you. This episode was produced and edited by Edit Audio. A special thanks to some Pilot crew members, including Derek Sampson, Allison Rinaldi, and Beth Gatzik. And of course, one of our super fans, Jen Fox, and my mom, Sue.